Hello everybody, in this video we're going to talk about how vectors work and what they are. So what is a vector? Vector is just anything that, it's like a line that has a starting point and an ending point. So it has a direction, and how long this is called the magnitude. So if this is vector v, you would label the magnitude as this. And vectors can be broken into x component and then y component, just like triangles, x component, y component, and we can write them as in these little brackets. So this is how vectors are usually written. So for example, if it's 3, 5, that means 3 in the x direction, 5 in the y direction. So if you plot this on the xy coordinate here, it's just like when you're plotting points, it's the exact same way. So you just go 1, 2, 3, and up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so you wanna, so you're assuming that it goes from, starts at 0 because it starts at 0 because they didn't tell you a starting point. They're just saying from wherever you are, you go 3 to the right and 5 up. And obviously if it's negative, then you go the other way. But yeah, so you go like that. So here to here is your vector v. Okay, so we're going to look at some other ways that you can write vectors. Okay, so these are some examples again. So we just went over this. So let's just do these examples real quick. So if we did this orange one, let me do it in a similar color. If we did this orange one, same thing here. 5 in the x direction this time. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3 upwards. So like this. And that's really all there is to it. It's like plotting a point, except there's the direction to it. So you plot this point and then you're going from 0 to there. Sometimes they specify where to start. So you will start there and go in that direction. So for this one, -4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 2. So this one is going in this direction. So this way, something like that. Yeah. Okay, so and then there's a different way that you could write, people write vectors, or like in textbooks or whatever. And it's this way. Instead of giving you the x and y, they give you the magnitude and then the angle that it makes. So if we were to graph that, it would look something like, let me make a new one. So this one would be like, so it has a magnitude of 5, but it's 30 degrees. So 30 degrees in the first quadrant, right? So let's say, like here is 30 degrees. Yeah, and it has a magnitude of 5. So they're going to tell you a lot of times to find the x and the y coordinate, and we're going to see later in this video how we do that. Okay, so we're going to look at some vector operations now. So yeah, so we're going to use the same two vectors that we just used, and then let's say they tell you to add this. It's actually very easy. So these are the x components, right? And then these are the y components. So all you do is add the x component, and then you add the y components together. So in other words, you add 5 plus -4, which is +1, and then 3 plus 2, which is 5. So you can call this like vector resultant. So it's very easy to add vectors together. So you just add the x's together and then the y's together, and then you could plot this, and you can see how that works. Another thing that you can do is, let's say we're working with just u, and they tell you to do 5 times u. Well, for this one, you're just distributing the 5 inside, so it's like putting a 5, and then you're multiplying it to the x and the y, so it'll be 25, 15. And that's really all there is to it. So we're gonna look at finding the x and the y component now. So this was that example that we were using earlier. So let's look at that example again. So this one, so 30 degrees, it was about right here, right? So 30 degrees. Yeah, so we want to find the x and y component. In other words, we want to write it in this format. We want to know what the x is and what the y is. So how do we do that? Well, we make this into a right triangle. And we call this, let's just say y, and then x. And we also know the magnitude is 5. So it's like a right triangle, 30, 60, 90 triangle, right? With a, so sometimes it's not a 30, 60, 90, so you might have to use a calculator to calculate it, but I'll show you how this works. So this is your hypotenuse, because it's the longest side. So let's say you want to find the x coordinate. How would you do that? Well, you would do, since we want the adjacent to this angle, 30, we would do cosine of 30. So I'm just going to write it in hypothetical, and then I'll do it specifically. So this would be x over the magnitude of the vector that you're looking for. So in this case, it's cosine 30 degrees is equal to x, which is what we're looking for, over 5. So you just do 5 cosine 30 degrees. Cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2, so 5 root 3 over 2. And again, if this isn't 30, you would have to put it in the calculator, but in this case, I used a special right triangle. So that's our x value. And then for the y, you do the same thing, except you would use sine because it's the opposite, right? Opposite over hypotenuse. So sine 30 degrees is equal to y this time over 5. So same thing here. 5 times sine 30 is equal to y. Sine 30 is 1/2. So 5 times 1/2 is just 5/2. So this is how you do the x component and the y component. Thanks for watching. This is just part 1 of the video. I'll be making more.